In the heart of 17th century Italy, a man was born whose faith and courage would ignite the spirit of an entire city and inspire generations to come. This is the story of Saint Gregorio Barbarigo, a noble soul whose life was a relentless quest for holiness, justice, and love. From his noble roots to his tireless work as Bishop of Padua, Gregorio's journey was marked by adventure, sacrifice, and miracles. Join us as we step into the footsteps of a saint whose legacy still shines brightly today. Chapter 1. The Early Years, a Noble Birth and Divine Calling. In the year 1625, beneath the shimmering skies of Venice, a child was born into one of the city's most distinguished families, the Barbarigos. Gregorio Barbarigo entered the world wrapped in the fine silks and golden tapestries of nobility. Yet from the very beginning, his soul was marked by something far greater than privilege, a profound sense of purpose. Venice, with its labyrinth of canals and soaring bell towers, was a city of grandeur and mystery, but also a place where faith was deeply woven into the lives of its people. In this vibrant backdrop, young Gregorio's spirit began to stir. From the earliest days, he was not content to simply inherit the legacy of his ancestors. Instead, his heart yearned to understand the deeper meaning of life, the hidden truths whispered by the Scriptures, and the call of God echoing in the quiet corners of his world. Gregorio's childhood was a careful balance between the expectations of his noble birth and the stirring of a divine calling. His family ensured he received the finest education. Tutors versed in philosophy, languages, and theology guided him, while the splendor of Venice offered lessons in diplomacy and leadership. Yet beneath the surface, Gregorio's mind and soul were drawn to something more intimate and demanding, the life of a servant of God. His early years were filled with moments of reflection and prayer, where he would seek answers beyond the grand halls of his family palace. It was said that even as a boy, Gregorio had a natural kindness that set him apart, an empathy for those less fortunate and humility rare among the powerful. But this calling was no gentle whisper. It was a fire that would shape his entire destiny. As Gregorio grew, so did his awareness of the challenges facing the church and the world. The 17th century was a time of political unrest, religious reform, and social change. Corruption and neglect had crept into many corners of the church's domain, and the faithful longed for leaders of courage and conviction. In this turbulent landscape, Gregorio's early life prepared him for a journey that would demand every ounce of his strength and faith. The boy from Venice was destined not just to witness history, but to change it, to rise as a beacon of hope and reform in an age that desperately needed both. The stage was set. The noble child with a burning heart was ready to step forward, embracing the divine call that would lead him from the splendor of Venice to the humble, yet powerful role of shepherding a city's soul. Chapter 2. Scholar and Cleric, the Path to Priesthood. Gregorio Barbarigo's journey from noble youth to devoted servant of the Church was forged in the halls of knowledge and faith. After his formative years in Venice, he traveled to the prestigious University of Padua, a place where brilliant minds gathered to unlock the secrets of philosophy, theology, and law. But for Gregorio, these studies were never mere academic pursuits. They were stepping stones toward a higher calling. At the university, Gregorio immersed himself in scripture and scholastic teachings with unwavering dedication. He devoured texts that many found dense and daunting. Yet for him, they breathed life into his quest for divine wisdom. The flickering candlelight that burned late into the night mirrored the fire burning within his heart, a restless passion to understand God's will and prepare for a life of service. While his noble background opened doors and earned respect, Gregorio never allowed pride to cloud his humility. Among peers and professors, he was known for his gentle spirit, a thoughtful listener, and a man who sought truth beyond appearances. He understood that true leadership was rooted not in titles or power, but in selfless devotion to others. Ordination came early for Gregorio, an event that marked the transformation of a scholar into a shepherd. Yet, becoming a priest was only the beginning. His heart was aflame with a desire to be more than a preacher of words. He wanted to live the gospel, to walk alongside the weary, and to fight the darkness that had crept into the church itself. The world outside the university was harsh and complicated. The church faced internal challenges, corruption, lax discipline, and wavering faith, and external pressures from political intrigue and rising tensions across Europe. In this environment, Gregorio's resolve grew stronger. He recognized that to serve God fully, he would need courage as well as knowledge. Gregorio stepped into his clerical duties with vigor and compassion. His sermons were not dry lectures, but heartfelt calls to transformation. People listened because they saw in him a man who practiced what he preached, someone who lived by example, who was willing to sacrifice comfort for the sake of his flock. His days were filled with study, prayer, and tireless work among the people. He traveled to villages and towns beyond the grand city, seeking out the forgotten and the poor, offering comfort and hope. It was clear to all who met him, Gregorio was no ordinary priest. He was a leader born not of ambition, but of divine purpose. This chapter of his life forged the foundations for what was to come. The scholar had become a servant, the nobleman a shepherd. Gregorio Barbarigo was preparing for the greatest challenges of his life, ones that would test his faith, his strength, and his very soul. Chapter 3. The Bishop of Padua, Leadership and Reform. In 1664, a new chapter began in Gregorio Barbarigo's extraordinary life when he was appointed Bishop of Padua, a city steeped in history, culture, and spiritual yearning. This was no ordinary appointment. It was a call to leadership in a time when the church was in desperate need of renewal and courage. For Gregorio, it was the moment to transform his vision into action. Padua, with its ancient streets and towering cathedral, held a vibrant but troubled flock. The city's people longed for guidance, for a shepherd who could restore faith and dignity to their community. Bishop Gregorio answered that call with a fierce determination and a heart full of compassion. Unlike many leaders who ruled from their palaces, Gregorio chose a different path. He traveled tirelessly across his diocese, on foot, by carriage, through bustling towns and remote villages, touching the lives of countless souls. His presence was a beacon of hope, a living testament that the church was there for every person, no matter how humble or forgotten. His leadership was marked by bold reforms that shook the very foundations of the clergy. Gregorio demanded discipline and holiness among priests, insisting that they live as true examples of faith. He established seminaries to train new priests in both knowledge and virtue, believing that a well-educated clergy was essential to reviving the church's strength. But his reforms were not welcomed by all. Tradition, complacency, and resistance lurked in the shadows. Some powerful figures saw his efforts as a threat to their influence. Yet Gregorio faced opposition with unwavering courage. He knew that change was never easy, especially when it challenged comfort and privilege. Beyond reform, Bishop Barbarigo invested deeply in education and charity. He founded schools for the poor and worked to improve the conditions of the marginalized. His compassion extended to every corner of the diocese, and his tireless efforts planted seeds of hope and renewal that would grow for generations. Under his guidance, Padua blossomed into a spiritual stronghold, a place where faith was rekindled and lives were transformed. Gregorio's leadership was not about power or prestige. It was about service, sacrifice, and a relentless pursuit of holiness. The bishop's story was becoming legend, but his greatest trials were still ahead. The path of a saint is never without hardship, and Gregorio Barbarigo would soon face tests that would challenge his faith and shape his legacy forever. Chapter 4. Trials and Triumphs, Challenges of Faith and Duty. No journey towards sainthood is without its shadows, and Gregorio Barbarigo's path was no exception. As Bishop of Padua, he stepped into a world riddled with challenges that tested every fiber of his being. From political intrigues to the harsh realities of poverty and disease, the trials he faced were relentless, but so was his spirit. In those turbulent times, outbreaks of plague swept through the region, leaving devastation in their wake. Villages emptied, families broken, and fear gripping every heart. Yet, in the face of death and despair, Gregorio did not retreat to the safety of his cathedral. Instead, he walked the streets, visiting the sick, offering prayers and comfort. His presence was a balm to the suffering, a living reminder that faith could conquer even the darkest of nights. His courage was not without risk. He exposed himself to illness and exhaustion, pushing past his own limits to serve his people. It was a calling greater than fear, a love deeper than personal safety. Tales spread of his tireless care and miraculous interventions, of the desperate lifted from the brink of death, healed by prayer and hope. But his struggles extended beyond the physical. Within the church itself, Gregorio confronted opposition and skepticism. Some clergy resisted his reforms, clinging to old ways or fearing the changes he sought. Powerful nobles viewed his influence with suspicion, wary of his unwavering integrity and refusal to compromise. Even amid this opposition, Gregorio's humility remained unshaken. He did not seek glory or conflict, but held fast to his mission, to purify the church and uplift the faithful. In moments of doubt and loneliness, he turned to prayer, finding strength in the silence of God's presence. These trials forged him, shaping a heart both tender and strong. Each challenge became a stepping stone toward greater holiness, each hardship a testament to his unyielding faith. His life became a living epic of perseverance, courage, and divine grace. Through suffering and sacrifice, Gregorio Barbarigo emerged not just as a leader, but as a saint in the making, inspiring all who witnessed his journey. His story invites us to face our own trials with the same steadfastness, to trust that even in darkness, light prevails. Chapter 5: Miracles and Legacy, the Path to Sainthood. The story of Gregorio Barbarigo does not end with his earthly struggles. It is in the miracles and lasting legacy where his true sainthood shines brightest. As word of his holiness spread beyond the city of Padua, so too did accounts of extraordinary events attributed to his prayers and presence. People from near and far came seeking healing and guidance, drawn by the tales of Gregorio's deep faith and divine intercession. The sick found relief, the troubled found peace, and the lost found direction. Miracles were whispered in hushed reverence. Cases of sudden recovery, comfort in despair, and even moments where the impossible seemed to bend to his will. Yet, through it all, Gregorio remained profoundly humble. He never claimed credit for these wonders. Instead, he pointed always to God as the source of every blessing. His life was a testament to the power of faith lived fully, a beacon showing that holiness is both a journey and a gift. Following his death in 1697, the Church recognized the enduring impact of his life. His legacy was not confined to stories or relics, but lived on in the hearts of the faithful and the reforms he set in motion. Decades later, the ultimate recognition came. In 1960, Pope John XCI canonized Gregorio Barbarigo as a saint, affirming his place among the great lights of the Church. Today, San Gregorio Barbarigo's influence remains vibrant. His example calls us to embrace faith with courage, to serve with compassion, and to believe in the transformative power of God's grace. His story is not just history. It is an invitation to live boldly, to pursue holiness relentlessly, and to trust that with faith, all things are possible. Epilogue: The enduring spirit of San Gregorio Barbarigo. The life of San Gregorio Barbarigo teaches us that holiness is a journey, a path paved with trials, sacrifice, and unwavering faith. His story invites us to rise above fear, to lead with love, and to carry the light of hope into the darkest places. In the footsteps of this great saint, we find the courage to face our own challenges, the strength to serve others, and the faith to trust in a higher purpose. His legacy endures, an eternal flame burning in the hearts of all who seek to live with courage and grace.